Welcome to Pesticide Action Network International's webinar, Agro-écologie, Farmers' Pathways to Liberation from Pesticides. This is an international webinar, and we will have presenters speaking in various languages. So we will provide interpretation in English, French, and Spanish. I will provide instructions now on how to access the interpretation, and my colleague Rina from PAN UK will give the same instructions in French and Spanish right after I finish. So to enable interpretation, click on the interpretation button at the bottom right of the Zoom window. It looks like a little globe. Choose the language you wish to listen to. If you do not wish to hear the original audio of the person speaking, then click on mute original audio, and you'll see that option below in the same drop-down menu after the list of languages. On the other hand, if you would like to hear the original audio, that is the speaker's own voice, if they're speaking in another language, then either you unmute original audio, or you just do not select mute original audio to begin with. So we will also provide these instructions in the chat column after this slide is gone in case you missed it. So please go ahead and choose your language now. The interpretation is already live and available. If you're having any difficulty with accessing the interpretation, then please send a message to us through the chat column, and we will do our best to assist. And that chat bottom can be found at the bottom of your screen. And now you'll hear the instructions again in Spanish and French from Rina. All right, just a couple other things. We have a full agenda today. We hope to have time towards the end of the webinar to take a couple of questions from the audience. So please drop your questions for the panelists into the Q&A box at any time. The Q&A button should be found at the bottom of your screen. Please also feel free to share your comments, reflections, and resources in the chat column. We have about 700 participants who registered for the webinar, so it is a wonderful opportunity to share knowledge with each other. With that, let's get started. Maybe you're aware this is a bit of a complicated situation. We have farmers who are joining from Argentina, from Kerala, India, from Benin, and from Iowa in the United States. All right, so, well, to introduce myself first, now that we're all together, I am Marcia Ishii. I am your moderator today. I'm senior scientist at Pesticide Action Network, North America, and chair of the Pan International Agro-écologie Work Group. To give you a little information about Pesticide Action Network, or PAN, we are a global network dedicated to the elimination of environmental and human health harms from pesticide use. And we're working to replace hazardous pesticides with ecological and socially just alternatives. As many of you know, worldwide, large-scale, chemical-intensive industrial agriculture is exhausting our soil, poisoning our water and air, destroying biodiversity, exacerbating the climate crisis as well, and devastating the health of communities while driving peasant and family farmers, as well as indigenous communities, off of their land. So as a network, PAN is committed to replacing pesticide dependence with transformative food systems change. And this includes eliminating the use of highly hazardous pesticides that are extremely toxic to humans and cause chronic diseases such as cancer or hormone disruption and other negative impacts, while also harming ecosystems and the environment. This is a group called highly hazardous pesticides. PAN is demanding action by decision makers, governments, policymakers at all levels to move immediately towards phasing out and ultimately banning these highly hazardous pesticides. So why agroecology? Why does PAN work on agroecology? Well, we see agroecology as offering some of the most robust solutions available to help us move away from the trap of pesticide dependence and the harms of hazardous pesticides. At the same time, we are facing multiple accelerating and converging crises: health, ecological, and climate crises, as well as economic, financial, and food system crises. So the need to radically rethink, reconceive, and change our approach to agriculture And really, fundamentally, our relationship to the earth has become paramount. Agroecology is grounded in local, peasant, and indigenous knowledge, as well as in scientific principles and investigation. Agroecology is practical, adaptive, and resilient. It's both rooted in ancestral knowledge, but also continually evolving in innovative and creative ways. Furthermore, agroecology is a movement, a social movement for social and ecological justice, and it's a pillar of food sovereignty. These days, increasingly, the United Nations, international institutions, and governments are recognizing the power of agroecology to transform our food and farming systems, address these multiple crises, and provide us with just and equitable pathways to resilient futures. We have so much to learn from farmers around the world, those who are with us today, and many others who are creating both new and reviving old ways of being in community based on principles of agroecology, collectivity, reciprocity, and solidarity. So just a little bit of background on PAN. We were founded in Malaysia in 1982, nearly 40 years ago, by activists from 22 countries who had come together around a common purpose, that of stopping multinational corporations from dumping hazardous pesticides banned in the global north, where most of these were being produced, into countries of the global south. PAN has since grown into a network of over 600 participating civil society organizations, institutions, and with many individuals joining in as well from over 90 countries. We have 5 regional centers that are also autonomous, independent with our own governing structures, but that come together and work collaborative in these spaces to lift up and bring the voices of farmers, farm workers, indigenous communities and rural populations to key national and international fora so that their demands and priorities can be centered as together we build viable, vibrant, and just solutions. Today, we'll hear directly from farmers in PAN's network whose stories demonstrate their success in eliminating dependence on highly hazardous pesticides and in establishing productive, profitable, and resilient agroecological farming systems that not only nourish their families and communities, but also bring them great joy. So we have with us today Ms. Kali Marutan from the Sambarkode hamlet in Attapadi Valley in Kerala, India, as well as we have Senora Marcela Calderon in the province of Buenos Aires, Argentina. We have Madam Oku Rosaline from the district of Jija in the Republic of Benin, and Patty Naylor, who is a family farmer from Iowa in the United States. But meanwhile, we will turn to Senora Marcela in Argentina. And so we'll have a video that we will show from each of the farmers' countries, from their farms, and then we'll have some questions and discussion with them. All right, so hello, dear Marcela, Senora Marcela, thank you for joining us. So I'd like to introduce Senora Marcela Calderon from Buenos Aires, Argentina. After experiencing the damaging effects of pesticide use on her farm, Senora Marcela and her siblings converted their operations to organic farming and ecological pasture management to provide healthy forage for their animals, as well as healthy food products for their community. So first, I will share my screen and I will show the video that you made for us.
Soy Marcela Calderón, estoy en representación del huerto interior. Nosotros somos agricultores junto con mis hermanos Patricia y Marcos y también mi mamá. Nosotros venimos del modelo agroindustrial hace 11 años y hoy ya estamos produciendo sin nada de químicos de síntesis, haciendo agroecología con el objetivo de regenerar la vida del suelo. Para esto abordamos lo que sería la ganadería ovina y también generar valor agregado en el lugar, produciendo harina integral agroecológica con un molino artesanal a piedra. Estoy mostrando la siembra asociada de trigo arveja y trébol. Acá les voy mostrando la producción ovina con pastoreo racional. Están saliendo a comer. Acá les muestro parte de la huerta, la cusay, los puerros, achicoria, lechuga, un gallinerito móvil, doble propósito, el monte de frutales de verano y bueno, otro gallinerito móvil, doble propósito para criar los pollitos, los pollos. Vamos corriendo del lugar todos los días. Los gancitos descansando. Acá tenemos las gallinetas o gallinas de Guinea. Acá les presento la plantinera por dentro y les muestro el bancal en altura que hicimos este año para demostrar que en un espacio reducido de 30 centímetros de alto por 1,30 de ancho, la diversidad de alimentos que podemos producir.
Now we have seen the beautiful activities of Senora Marcela. My question for you, can you tell us a bit about what your farming, your production was like before you started on the agroecology path? And what was the impact you were observing of pesticides on the soil, your farm and surroundings? And how has your transition to organic and agroecology changed things for your family?
Hola, buen día en primer lugar a todos y agradecer a todos ustedes la posibilidad de hacer visible aún más este modelo, ¿no? Nosotros venimos del modelo agroindustrial, digamos, de trabajar 2.500 hectáreas y bueno, después de 25 o 30 años de estar haciendo siembra directa, nos dimos cuenta que, digamos, el modelo estaba, que ya no daba más. Entonces, empezaron a suceder también situaciones, ¿no?, dentro del establecimiento y empezamos a visibilizar la pérdida del buen vivir que teníamos, ¿no? ¿Por qué? Porque el modelo agroindustrial, digamos, te hace, uno podría decir, como nómade y también más esclavo, ¿no?, del sistema, y uno pierde calidad de vida. Eso fue el primer replanteo que nosotros nos empezamos a hacer, ¿no? Y bueno, desde ahí empezamos a tomar esta conciencia también del espacio, ¿no? Esto de empezar a leer las señales de la naturaleza y empezar a registrar la pérdida de estructura y de vida, digamos, en el suelo. Ese fue, y también, por supuesto, observar la incidencia que estaban teniendo todo lo que serían los químicos de síntesis, ¿no?, en el espacio. Eso fue, digamos, así, a partir de ahí empezamos a transitar, digamos, toda una búsqueda, ¿no?, porque en realidad fue bastante abrupto, digamos, salir de un modelo, digamos, agroindustrial, productivista, a entrar a un modelo, digamos, agroecológico. Nosotros tuvimos que hacer toda una transición de aprendizaje y de educación, o reeducarnos, o volver a regenerarnos, para también poder regenerar el espacio y la vida, ¿no? En esta búsqueda, digamos, de educación, uno empezó a tener otra mirada e incursionar lo que sería, digamos, la permacultura. Empezamos a incursionar sobre la agricultura natural de Fukuoka, también sobre la agricultura orgánica, regenerativa de Jairo Restrepo, agricultura biodinámica de Steiner, la agroecología propiamente dicha, digamos, acá hay un ingeniero agrónomo que es como el representante o la cara más visible de todo lo que es el movimiento agroecológico en la Argentina, que es el ingeniero Cerdá, que bueno, ahora este año también fue nombrado y fue abierta, digamos, una parte del ministerio, como que se le abrió, el Estado abrió, digamos, esta posibilidad y hacer más visible la agroecología. Y también incursionar sobre la veterinaria, digamos, holística. ¿Por qué? Porque el objetivo nuestro era regenerar la vida del suelo, vivificarlo. Entonces, para esto sabíamos que teníamos que incorporar animales, porque los animales con el estiércol y bueno, y todo el desecho, iban a estar incorporando la microbiología que nosotros necesitábamos para empezar a vivificar, digamos, ese espacio. Y bueno, ahí empezamos a hacer parte de lo que serían las pasturas consociadas, trigo con trébol blanco. Después, en este momento, estamos haciendo ya pasturas con 8 variedades diferentes. Y con esas pasturas consociadas se cosecha el trigo en diciembre, por ejemplo, y con ese trigo tenemos un molino artesanal a piedra con el que digamos, le damos valor agregado, digamos, a la producción, ¿no? de trigo. Y el resto de las pasturas la usamos para lo que sería la ganadería ovina, que la manejamos con pastoreo racional.
Thank you so much, Señora Marcela. It's lovely to hear about your amazing transition. There was a big change you made to organic production, and we will come back to you in the second round to hear more about how you organize your family on the farm and your interaction with the community as you've made this shift. But for now, we will move on to another one of our panelists, and we will be coming back to you in the next round. So thank you so much for that sharing. Let me see now, is Ms. Kali Marutan ready? I'm just checking with my colleague Bartan, who is with the Tanal Trust in Kerala, India. So we will also begin with a video of Ms. Kali Marutan in her home hamlet of Sambarkode in Kerala. Ms. Kali has been practicing the indigenous traditional approach to farming known as Panja Krishi. So now I will, oh, hello, it's wonderful to see you. Thank you. I know you had to travel and it's late at night for you to come to this office to be able to join us. So I will now show the video, the beautiful video you made for us.
La pangini masa sedivatti apa voyasi masatukku vedekila voyasi masak vedettu avani masatukku adella artha edukadu talittu appa ade or nalu taambu vittu ootugadu ooti annathe kureke vettekki talittu maadaiye gatti taambu oottonadu appa pela ille ತಣ್ಣೀಲಿ ದಾಂಡಿದೆ ಹೋಗೋಣ ಅದೇ ಕಷ್ಟಗೆಲ್ಲಗೊಂಡು ನಾವು ವ್ಯವಸಾಯಕ್ಕೆ ಬಿಡುತ್ತೇವೆ 30 ವರ್ಷ ಕೃಷಿಯ ತಳ್ಳಿ 2 వ్యవసాయం చేయము పోయిన వ్యవసాయం ఈ వ్యవసాయం ఇని తోడందు తందు ఈ సర్కారు సహాయం കൊണ്ട് ನಾವು ತೋಡಂದು ಸೇವೇಮಿ ತೋಗ್ಯಾರಿ ಬೇರೆ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಎಮ್ಮ ಸೇಪಣೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಬೇಕೇಮು ತಣಂಗಾಣಿ ಇದೇ ನಾವು ತಿಂದುಕೊಂಡಿರುವುದು ಮರಂದಾಡ್ತೆ ಮುಕ್ தெரியாது மருந்துங்க வேசனையே தெரியாது ஒரு நாகரிகல்லே அதனாலேதே நல்ல முறைக்கு இருந்தார் இப்போ பார்த்தா மருந்தடிக்கா சோறை தின்னுಕೊಂಡು எத்தனை ஆள் கை வராதே கால் வராதே முடியாதெல்லாம் போகாது அதுக்குதே நாம் டாகும் சொப்பாದಿಂದೇಮು ஒரு டாகும் சொப்பாதே ಈ ಕಾಡ್ರಿ ಕಡಕ ತಳೆನೆ ತಿಂದದೆ ನಾವು ಪುಳೆ ಬೆಳಾತಿನೇಮು ಎಲ್ಲ ಬಿಳೆಗ ಸವಿಕಾಮಾಯಿದೆ ಇರ್ತದೆ ಅವ್ರು ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಗೈದೆ ಅವ್ರು ಇವನಾಗಾನು ಅದೇನಾಕು ಕಾಟ ತಳೆನೆ ತಿಂದು ಮರಂದಡಿಕತ್ತ ಸಾಮಾನತೆ ತಿಂದು
That is such a beautiful scenes you have provided to us, Ms. Kali. Thank you so much. So I would like to ask you some questions about what you shared in the video and your experiences. After being away from agriculture for 30 years, I believe, you have come back to and revived the indigenous approach of Panja Krishi with others in your community. And now you and your community grow an incredible diversity of crops with around 280 different crops in multiple and complex rotations. This is just amazing. So could you tell us, please, about Panja Krishi, how it guides your approach to farming and of relating to the land? And can you also share with us a bit about your community's return to Panja Krishi, how that has affected you and others in your community since making this decision to come back to this approach? Hello?
Can you hear me? I am
Yes.
Bharathan.
Yes, Bharatan. So we will have a translation, consecutive translation. Ms. Kali speaks the Irula dialect and Bharatan will be translating into English for us.
Sound.
மருந்தடிக்காது பெரேத்து எல்லாமே அசமே அடிக்கல அது பாண்டி ராய் சாமை கடலை எல்லாம் விதைக்கல விதைத்து எடுத்தாலும் நறுபணி பண்ணி விதைக்க வச்சுட்டு அதை அந்நாளைக்குதே கொண்டு வந்து விதைக்க வைத்தாலும் பின்னே செடி வெட்டி பின்னே மரபெல்லாமே பின்னே போடுகல.
Hello, can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, yes, please proceed.
Ma'am, she is saying she is very happy to join with us. Firstly, she is thanking to you. And she is saying about our traditional farming is called Panjakrishi. We do this Panjakrishi with family, not only single, we will do through family. We are cultivating our own lands with our own traditional practices like man plowing and ox plowing, like seeding, like etc. And this is our traditional agricultural method. We are practicing with 13 varieties of millets farming and vegetables.
ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಈ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಬಂದಾದ್ರಿಂದ கொஞ்சம் கேஷ் தந்தா நாம் அதை பின்னே மீண்டும் போடுகிறோம்.
She is saying she is practicing after 30 years in these last 2 years, and she facing some problems regarding wild attacks and climatic change. Today, after this our generation, this generation is very happy to take over this agriculture.
Thank you very much for sharing that. So I guess just to follow on, you mentioned the younger generation. Are you seeing that they are engaged in the Panja Krishi approach and they've also come back to farming in your area? Can you tell us about the youth participation?
அது இன்னும் தேர்ந்ததே செய்வார் தேர்ந்து செய்யாரிப்பா புரியா பிள்ளையாரு பழையாத கணக்கு நீ 30 வருஷம் செய்த மாதிரி தொடர்ந்து செய்யார்.
Ma'am, she is saying she is very happy to say this because after 30 years I am doing this agriculture, but today's our younger generation is doing with us, like our also they are practicing our traditional ways. And they are very happy to do this agriculture because they are this time they are practicing how to do this traditional agriculture. They don't know how to do this traditional agriculture. They are now our students. She is saying they are now our students. They are practicing our agriculture and they are very happy to do this.
That is wonderful. Yes, go ahead. Did you have more?
That's enough, ma'am.
Oh yes, thank you. That I imagine that Ms. Kali is a wonderful teacher and mentor to the young generation. I'm so happy to hear that they are coming back to this. Many young people move to the city and are not following these practices. So you are quite a model and inspiration for your community and for the young people.
Okay. Ms. Kali is saying that some youths, I think 10 of them, 10 youths, they are practicing their land, another land. They are took a forest land, but when after 13 years back, they are doing a new land for this traditional agriculture practice.
Okay, that's excellent. Thank you very much. We've dropped into a chat also a report from Tanal Trust that describes in much more detail the practices of Panjakrishi and the ways in which they incorporate cultural practices and festivals and celebrations, showing that culture and ecology really are interconnected. So thank you. We will come back to you in a moment after we continue with some of our other panelists. Thank you, Ms. Kali. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Now, dear friends, we will move to our panelist from Benin, Madame Oku, Rosaline. Let's see, are we ready to move to Madame Oku? In the same way just now, Madame Oku speaks her own language, a local language, Fongbe, and our colleague in Benin, Ms. Delphine, will be doing consecutive translation from Fongbe into French, for which we are very appreciative. Delphine is with OBEPAP, the Organization of Organic Producers of Benin. So now, Madame Oku, just to tell you briefly, she also converted to organic farming after experiencing the harms of highly hazardous pesticides, in particular endosulfan. Some of you may know is a very dangerous chemical that is commonly used in conventional cotton production. As a result of those experiences, she has switched to organic farming, organic cotton, as well as a wide variety of other crops, food crops for herself and her family and her community. So first we will go to a video from Madame Oku.
Non yo ku Rosaline, plesi segbe jiton pa mi defi. Komi no jija. Non vi aton son do ko jendo. Era wo go jo file do mi. Nde men de so ku ya. Ne go ku ya fo ton kwanta bi ko be mo me. Peta mi ton emi do yo, mi to ben coopératif. Akwe gba no jito e we so yen do. Kletio eta we. Eta wo nka do ndo eta ton jidi. Eta ton je do ndo avocat. Ndo aizin. Ndo gbade, ndo soja, do eta tonji din. Bole do kadugbo. Aka do afokan bona afokan na yan afokan kan jinu we nele wa to bodesi. Bo dren suko e de canton le atren do hweme. Be amoten bo font ikungba ona ado ene we so do kode ya. Mo no pepe bo do koton ene afokan to na di do po we. Afokan kwin mi ton mi o si fo we yo de me a. For the mesuko tan de we wo aduande ko akwa nto bo diko bo do nko na yo an le san leje kwen ko di do kwen ji we go bo afokan na moten bo do ero to na moten bo sin be be we sun kan di do ma ja so waji we de kre na ikun gban ni ere do aikun gban de mi mo don jere ekun aikun gban de bo mi do nu bara do ko na be do si sa o ekun mo mi de so no na suko ho na ikungba yo mi de so no do ko no mi so bara de do ko ran e wa so ma ikungba e ro kanji we no si ma de apere ton yo o mi o ton do date e me no do le do yo mi ko ne do bodo gude so an do no be ale juro ba le ai ho ahi me so da ibo e no avaki e vaki yo ene mi no asa dagbe mo de me yo e wa so bon poda so do dagbe de te apasa te kanji wọ́n ní so tagbade so de mi afika so khen nu mi an so jinu kun lo jaduru gbe o novo amo tete o te fine din mi te ne din mi khen din mi asin attacking din mi clear ogbe din mi ba din mi an ri e do problem de nu clear din bo nu ye din yege nu bara de e we so bo chinu kun le po mi te po popo do mi de no hona.
Amazing and beautiful. Such beautiful diversity on your farm, Madame Oku. Yeah, wonderful to see.
Alors,
Just see. Okay.
quelle
So
raison
my
pour
question for
grandir?
you, and just thank you again so much. You had to travel quite a distance to join this webinar, over 150 kilometers, I believe, to come to the OPAPOP office. So we are so appreciative of you making that journey. So I would like to ask you, you've had much experience growing cotton and other crops as well, both conventionally and now organically. What made you decide to stop using pesticides? What was that point where you decided it was enough and it was time to change? So if you could tell us a bit about that decision, and then also what helped you in managing the transition to organic farming? That's a big shift. And what have been the results for you and your family and community?
I think I think I can't turn it from one age. Afuna pasa to yo chona igre ona bo fun ana to pa bonu to fe ko me we le mo a bonu asi so ko di to mara mara ma ko to yo wo choba ale fun pasa to na ri ye ba no ko don we ne me sin yo fi to ado fi pe fi bo nu fi pe bi asi to esi no fi ro ene na o jua to di ne le do o ja ko ka se go pasa to ton ìtàn tó yìn àdó dùn ọ̀nà àyàn náà ìtàn dé nínú ìbọn tó ìtàn tó yẹ nínú ọdún níjẹ ìtàn tó jẹ sọdún tàgbàrí àpàtàkì ìkànnì nǹkan tó ní ìwé tó àfọkànnà rẹ tó ti fún lóde rẹ fún bọ èyí fi ọmọ ẹwọn gbà sébi tí má ti mà wà pé fi ọ̀nà àdàbò ìtọ́jú pòblẹ́mù rẹ àtẹ̀sí tó tó gbèrègbè ní ìbàjẹ́ ní fún ìyẹn ká tí ìtàn mi ìyàjẹ́ sọdún tọ́hún nínú bóyá ẹni náà pàtàkì tó náà kàn dín sọ̀rọ̀ tàgbà ìwọlẹ̀ tí wọ́n ní lọ́dún ní àjẹ́ tàgbà àtọ̀nà tó tàgbà ní sọ̀rọ̀ kò dé ní ìjókòó ló ní ìtàkù ló ti lè fi ọ̀rẹ́ tí wọ́n ló ti lè rí ìmọ̀lò sọ̀rọ̀ tàgbà.
Ok, je vous remercie beaucoup et remercie les organisateurs. Et elle dit que elle était dans le coton conventionnel, mais à un moment donné, elle avait beaucoup de problèmes de santé. Il y avait, après le traitement, elle avait des démangeaisons sur la peau. Il y avait aussi les précautions à prendre. Il y avait trop de précautions à prendre avant d'aller utiliser un produit chimique. Elles avaient des précautions endogènes comme aller acheter de lait et non sucré, boire pour atténuer les effets de pesticides. Mais elle a compris que ça n'avait pas d'effet. Il y avait aussi les enfants, la sécurité des enfants, puisque les enfants sont en même temps à la maison quand c'est les vacances et les accompagnent au champ. Donc, quand c'est leur lieu de travail et en même temps le lieu de divertissement des enfants, mais c'était devenu un lieu dangereux pour leurs enfants. Et même pour stocker les produits à la maison, c'était dangereux. Un enfant pouvait s'amuser et se faire mal. Donc, au vu de tout ça, elle a changé quand elle a eu l'information des pratiques agroécologiques, elle a changé. Et comme bénéfice, elle peut, et toutes les spéculations qu'il y a dans son champ, elle peut chercher directement à les préparer, manger. Alors qu'avant, avec les produits chimiques, c'était pas possible pour elle. Et ces enfants sont en sécurité. Elle est sûre maintenant qu'ils ne vont pas faire de manipulation dangereuse de produits chimiques qui pourraient affecter leur santé. Donc, au vu de tout ça, parce qu'au moment où elle devenait bio, tous ces enfants étaient petits. Merci.
Thank you so much for sharing that, and congratulations. That is a big transformation you made in your life and on your farm to support your children's health, your health, and the well-being of your community. It's very impressive to see how you were able to make this change. Was there, what was especially helpful to you in making that transition to organic farming? Were you able to learn from other farmers, or were there other resources provided to you? How was that transition? And yeah.
Kira chiro ko fune boye o me ka so wa lole di mo je udi ene ni me kun sana mo ason bara do ko di san lo ko bon no ti mo ne o yen ru yen fronte bo yen jo wa so don ti ni ko kira po ja so ne wa ti de ba so ne wa to yo ene
Ok, elle vous remercie pour la question. Elle dit que, en fait, elle a entendu parler du bio à travers un technicien de terrain qui était là, qui était un agent de l'OBEPAB et qui lui a démontré à travers des rencontres que c'était possible de se convertir à l'agroécologie, à produire autrement le coton. Dès qu'elle a entendu ça, elle a Dès qu'elle l'a entendu, aussitôt, elle s'était intéressée parce qu'elle avait déjà trop de difficultés dans l'utilisation des produits chimiques. Aussitôt, elle a saisi cette opportunité, que c'était une opportunité pour elle, qu'elle avait saisie en même temps pour entrer dans l'agriculture biologique, pour adopter des pratiques agroécologiques.
Yes, thank you. I was just pausing if there was more, but thank you so
D'accord.
much. Yes, I am just very delighted and inspired to hear about your own journey in this. And thank you again so much for doing the beautiful practices that you are doing, which is a benefit for all of us on the earth, as well as the community in Jija in Benin. All right, thank you so much, Madame Oku. We'll come back to you in the second round. So for now, I will move us to our conversation with Patty Naylor. Patty farms in Iowa in the Midwest of the United States. Patty has also transitioned to organic farming over the years and is active in national and global movements for agroecology and for food and farm justice. So we're very happy to have Patty with us today. And we're also very honored that Patty serves as a member of the board of Pesticide Action Network North America. So thank you for joining us, Patty. I will put up the video that you provided to us of your activities on your farm.
Hi, my name is Patty Naylor. I am a farmer in Iowa, which is in the central part of the United States, considered the Corn Belt. It was 7 years ago that my husband and I made the decision to transition our farm to organic. It was this orchard that I'm standing in right now that helped make that decision. So it was with the idea of agroecology and the science of ecology that really helped us to make the decision that certified organic was the way to go. I'd like to take you on a tour of our farm, and hold on. This is one of the new orchards that we planted 6.5 years ago. To be organic and agroecological, we do a number of things to combat the insect pressures that we have. We do monitoring. We do targeted spraying with natural products such as neem oil and kaolin clay to attract pollinators. We have medicinal and culinary herbs planted amongst the trees. And we have you can see in the distance, there is a prairie section that has lots of flowers in there during most of the year. Here we are in the orchard that we planted just this past spring. It's more than double the size of the two orchards that we planted 6.5 years ago. I also planted strawberries and also some garden vegetables between the trees in the space that we have. You can see there in the distance, so that line of trees is our farmstead. The apple orchard that I was standing in earlier is on the other side of that. And across the way, right there, is the cornfield that my husband harvested just the last couple of days. It's an organic cornfield. So we've added oats and hay to the soybean and corn rotations. We also use cover crops that both provide weed control and provide nitrogen. We're surrounded by friends and neighbors who grow almost exclusively genetically engineered corn and soybeans. And it's the policies that we have, including free trade agreements, that really lock them into that mode of production. And that's why agroecology is so important. It has that political policy aspect to it that we really need to include.
Wonderful, and thank you as well, Patty, so much for the time you took to make that video for us. I know it was challenging, windy days, weather, farming, all that is happening. So we appreciate both that and your spending the time this morning with us. So Patty, you are quite unique among your friends and neighbors in your commitment to organic farming and agroecology. I wonder if you could tell us more about what motivated you to stop using pesticides, and then also what was most helpful in your transition to agroecology, and what has been or perhaps remains still difficult.
Thank you. Greetings to everyone here. I'm very honored to be amongst the guests here, and I think it's wonderful that agroecology can bring us all together like this. My primary motivation to stop using pesticides came when I watched my husband handling the liquid herbicides that he was going to use on a soybean field, and I realized how much direct contact the farmers have with these toxic chemicals. I combined that with my mother's skin rash that she developed whenever she was near glyphosate, and the pesticide drift that continues to occur here in Iowa, drifting onto neighboring gardens, orchards, fields, and even homes. And the decision to stop using pesticides was easily the right one to make. As my husband and I were also making plans to pass this farm on to the next generation, we knew that the chemical-laden corn and soybeans would not inspire young people to return to this farm. Of course, we also knew that pesticides harm the environment and human health on a global scale. The introduction of genetically engineered seeds has resulted in an onslaught of toxic pesticides and has spread monoculture crops and plantations across the globe, while replacing and disrupting the local crops, cultures, and natural ecosystems. Although we had never planted genetically engineered crops, we no longer wanted to be accomplices to this system. We learned that implementing the principles of agroecology are the only way to farm responsibly. And we all need to take agroecology seriously. Thus, we were eager to demonstrate on our farm the change that needs to become the reality for all farmers. And we began the process to organic certification. Already, we have found that our farm is a much more beautiful place to live for us, and we hope for the future generations as well. We have found that to step outside the industrial model of agriculture and to farm in an ecologically sound way is a long-term process that is sometimes difficult. It is much more than changing a few practices, which are the small, ineffective steps that agribusiness instructs conventional farmers, including our friends and neighbors, to do when it becomes evident that their industrial farming methods are polluting the water and eroding the land. Our farm is not completely agroecological yet. We are still learning how to control weeds and insects without pesticides. We have established native plants to attract pollinators, and we have planted trees and perennials on our farm. However, the most difficult challenge is integrating livestock onto our farm, other than a few chickens. Returning farm animals to farms instead of the confinement facilities that have become the norm is vital to changing this industrial system. It is a challenge for us because we don't have the skills nor the physical structures needed, but also the global free trade market keeps livestock feed, including the corn and soybeans, at low prices for the corporate owners of the livestock, so that raising animals in unsustainable and unecological ways is most profitable. In this model, the true costs of food are not accounted for, and farmer like me, who wants to raise livestock responsibly, finds it difficult to be financially viable.
Thank you, Patty. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences and powerful story of change that you have been undertaking quite courageously and creatively and with passion and much power on your farm. So thank you. You and George are also an inspiration to all of us. bringing us models of how we can be doing agriculture differently in the United States as well. So now, dear friends, I think we do have time for a second round of questions. Feel free, our attendees, to drop in any questions you have. At the moment, we have one specific one about, let's see, some support from the government to Madam Oku. So I'll integrate that into this second round of questions. So let's see, if we go back to Marcela. Senora Marcela, coming back to your description of your El Huerto Interior and your family farm, can you tell us a bit about how your family is organized, how you organize your roles for the management of the farm, you and all your siblings, and how also you relate to other producers in the territory, in your area?
Ahí estamos. Un poquito, todos realizamos todas las actividades, pero bueno, tenemos ahí como roles más específicos, donde mi hermano está más encargado de la parte productiva o técnica específicamente. Digamos, a mí me toca parte de lo que sería la elaboración y la comercialización, digamos, de preparar, específicamente en el caso de la harina, preparar todo lo que son los pedidos y eso, y bueno, y después mi hermana la parte de entrega de la mercadería. Eso un poquito ahí los roles en la actividad, pero en realidad los tres hacemos todo. Y después en relación a los roles con el contexto, digamos, el primer contacto que nosotros empezamos a tener desde el cambio de modelo, en realidad estamos en el corazón de la Pampa y bueno, era una mosca blanca, ¿no? El proyecto nuestro y este cambio productivo. Y con los primeros que nos empezamos a contactar, en realidad es con una escuela de alternancia, un CPT, donde empezamos a interactuar con los alumnos, con los docentes. En la escuela, digamos, la mayoría del alumnado son productores pequeños, son campesinos. Entonces la relación ahí empezó a ser, digamos, más fluida y empezamos a generar redes con ellos. A raíz de eso se genera lo que sería la mesa ovina de General Viamonte, donde participan otros productores pequeños también de la producción ovina, parte del alumnado, parte de un telar mapuche que hay en la comunidad, ¿no? En esto de generar la red en lo que sería la comercialización de la ganadería ovina, ¿no? Eso por un lado. Y después empezamos a conectarnos con el contexto más externo en relación a las ferias. En realidad con los productores no nos fue muy fácil, porque bueno, no es fácil que nos cambien el modelo, porque uno tiene que transitar todo un proceso de aprendizaje, ¿no? Uno con el modelo agroindustrial viene con el concepto productivista, de productor, ¿no? Y el modelo agroecológico nos lleva a un concepto que yo tengo más internalizado o que quiero fortalecer y dar a conocer más, a este concepto de la agricultura, ¿no? Del agricultor, y salir del productor, porque el modelo agroindustrial te lleva al productor a esta mirada más extractivista. En cambio el modelo agroecológico nos conecta con la agricultura propiamente dicha. Si uno va a la etimología de la palabra, agricultura, digamos, estamos hablando de la cultura del agro, de la cultura del campo, y cuando yo hablo de cultura, estoy hablando del campesino, estoy hablando del arraigo, estoy hablando de las raíces, estoy hablando del cultivo, del cultivarse, Entonces yo me relaciono, digamos, desde otro lugar cuando incorporo este concepto el concepto de agricultura y no de productor, o de agricultora y no de productor. Genera uno más un empoderamiento al campesinado y otra relación, porque yo es como que lo estoy empoderando en un abanico de posibilidades al otro. Y bueno, propiamente dicho, digamos, al modelo, a los vecinos, bueno, no nos fue fácil. Recién ahora estamos siendo como mirados desde otro lugar, empoderados, y todo lo que uno fue sembrando y generando redes, por ejemplo, con el alumnado de la escuela, que los chicos puedan aprender otro modelo. Nosotros tenemos habilitado el espacio para que los chicos hagan las prácticas profesionalizantes, porque bueno, consideramos que la educación en este modelo es fundamental, que los chicos puedan tener, digamos, otra mirada sobre la agricultura, que existe otro modelo, que hay otra posibilidad, que uno, digamos, empodera el buen vivir. Bueno, eso es lo que nos lleva también adelante y nos impulsa cada vez más a año a año ir incrementando la cantidad de hectáreas, porque bueno, nosotros hectáreas que empezamos con la huerta, después empezamos a incorporar poquitas hectáreas, la hectárea que recuperamos no tiene nada de químicos de síntesis. Entonces, digamos, ya en este proceso de 9 años, ya llevamos 60 hectáreas que no tienen nada de químicos de síntesis. Bueno, y todo ese modelo, bueno, es como que uno lo va llevando a cabo e incorporando día a día, digamos, otros saberes.
Gracias. Thank you. Gracias. And thank you so much, Señor Marcela. You have really made a beautiful picture. You have shown us how the agroecology is culture and society, and it has so many levels, from physical to spiritual to how we relate to each other and the land, to the youth, to the education, at all these levels. It is truly a transformative process you have described. Thank you so much. Now we will go. I think we are getting many questions coming up in the chat, so I will try to integrate these in this last round. So coming back to Ms. Kali Marutan, I had a question for you about how COVID and climate changes, such as the unpredictability of seasonal rains, has affected your community. I think there are, just check some other questions from the audience, interested in knowing whether there are any incentives or support given to you by the government or other places to assist in transitioning to or practicing agroecological farming. So how has the situation of COVID or climate change affected you? How have you been able to respond? And have you had any supports from other places in adapting to the changing conditions?
சும்மா நல்லா பிள்ளைக கிரையே விளையாடி கொண்டு இருக்கணும். கொரோனா காரணம் தானே அது. அப்ப இப்ப அது ஒரு காலகட்டம் மாதிரி ஒரு சவிர இல்லாத மாதிரி இல்லைன்னா எல்லா பிள்ளைக போய் எல்லா பிள்ளைக பள்ளிக்கூடத்தி படிக்கணும். இப்ப சும்மா வீரை சுத்திக்கொண்டு விளையாடிக்கொண்டே இருக்கணும். அதை கொண்டு போய் இப்ப நாமும் காடுக்கு வைத்தாப்போ பிள்ளைகளே சாமே ராயி பிரிக்கி ஒட்டுக்காப்பிட்டிருக்கேமோ அது கொரோனா கொண்டு பாண்டி சாமை ராய் எள்ளு இத்தனை எல்லாம் உபயோகித்து நான்ப்பா அப்போ பிள்ளைகளெல்லாம் காடுக்கே கொண்டு போய் இப்போ வேலை செய்ய பிள்ளை가 பள்ளிக்கூடலாத்ததை கொண்டு பிரிக்க ஒட்டி கொண்டிருக்கிறார்.
சொல்லுங்க. She is saying that COVID doesn't affect us more because this is we are practicing our traditional agriculture also this COVID time. COVID doesn't affected that much us. This time we are doing this COVID time. Our children doesn't have any school facilities or class facilities, something like that. We are teaching them how to practice our traditional agriculture through our traditional ways, and we are practicing how to protect our crops from the birds and animals like that. In this COVID time is very lucky for us to teach our next generation what is our traditional agriculture and what are the practices. And also this is our first crop harvesting time. They are practicing and participate with us how to take harvest. Children are taking responsibility for the traditional agriculture. They are practicing and also they are participate with us like us.
സർക്കാർ സഹായ செய்கிறார். அவர் செய்யாதனாலே ഈ 2 வருஷம் കൂടി எல்லாமே நாம் தொடர்ந்து செய்யணும். நீ സർക്കാർ செய்யலைந்தில்லை. நாம் 30 வருஷம் கொண்டு எல்லா விட்ட தொழிலினை எடுத்து கிளீனா செய்து பாருங்க. ಈ ಎರುಬುನೆ ಮಿನ್ನಕ್ಕೂ ಕಾಡು ಬಟ್ಟಿ ತೆಳಿಕಾರು. ಪಂಗಿನಿ ಮಾಸ ಕಾಡು ಬಟ್ಟಿ ತೆಳಿಕ. ಪಂಗಿನಿ ಮಾಸ ಕಾಡೆ ಬಟ್ಟಿ ತೆಳಿತು ಸುಟ್ಟು ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಏರ್ಪಡಿ ಬಂತು. ಏರು ಓಟಗಾರು ಮಾಡನಿ ಏರೆ ಓಟಿ ಕೊಂಚ ನಾಳೆಕ್ಕ ಅದೇ ಭೂಮಿನೇ ಊರ್ಗಬೇಕಾ. ಊರ್ಗವೆತ್ತಾದನು ನೇ வந்தாதನು ಬೆದೆ ನಿಕ್ಕಾರು. ಏನಾದ ಬೆದೆಕ್ಕಾರು? ಆದ್ಯ ರಾಯಿ ಬೆದೆಕ್ಕ. ರಾಯಿಯ ಬೆದೆತ್ತಿತ್ತು ಸಾಮೆನೆ ಬೆದೆತ್ತಿತ್ತು ತೊಗ್ಯಾರಿ. ಈ 3 ಮಿನ್ನಕ್ಕೆ ಬೆದೆತ್ತ. ಇದು ಎತ್ತನಿ ಮೇಸಾಕಿ ಬರಬು 3 ಮೇಸಾಕು. ஒய்யாசி மேசாக்கு போட்டா ஓனா மேசாக்கு அடிக்கல.
She is saying government is supporting us. Kerala government in India, our Kerala government scheduled tribes development department supporting us for our traditional tribal agriculture. They are giving some financial support and technical support from their side. One of the reason that we stopped our traditional agriculture before 30 years. After 30 years, these 2 years we are doing our traditional agriculture because of by the supporting of our scheduled tribes development department. And they are also providing youth support and financial support. We lost our traditional crops recently. They help to take back our traditional crops, and the government giving very helpful for our traditional agriculture. Also they are supporting to revive our traditional cultural practices regarding our traditional agriculture. Also we revived our traditional culture named Kuthu, and Kuthu is called as our spiritual art form relating our traditional agriculture. So government is supporting us very much, and we are thanking to our government, Kerala Scheduled Tribes Development Department. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kali, and thank you, Bharatan, for the translation. That is very wonderful to hear all the dimensions of your agriculture, your agroecology, your culture and practices, and also very encouraging to hear that the government, in this case of Kerala, specifically is providing such good support. It seems like a very powerful collaboration, and I hope that more local governments and even state and national governments will take notice. We also hope that the United Nations and other policymakers will take notice of what you have been doing in the Atapadi Valley. It's a good an inspiration for all of us, and policymakers can learn a lot from what they are seeing, what you are doing. Thank you. All right, we will go to our Madam Oku now. I'm also keeping an eye on the questions from the chat. I will try to integrate as we go along. Madam Oku, can you please share with us the leading role that you are playing in your cooperative, which comprises both men and women? You are the president of this cooperative, which is quite impressive. So please tell us about the role you play with your cooperative, how it came about, and what are some of the difficulties you encountered along the way, and how have you overcome them? As Madam Oku speaks in Fongbe and Delphine translates into French, then you will get your translation. You can listen to her by unmuting your audio, original audio.
Donc, when we are at home, that we are talking that we are now coming one. So we are in the world of the town of the cooperative for that one month of the level of our month to get them. I'm putting Bob in the land of Walla. Yanni and nothing. Yanni and a single in the town, maybe another woman or another one. Don't put your minutes to that to the poem on you.
Ok, Rosaline vous remercie sincèrement pour cette réunion. Elle dit que pour les coopératives, c'est vrai, elle gère la coopérative, mais c'est une question de cohésion sociale. C'est une question de collaboration active avec tous les membres. Elle ne se décide pas seule, elle ne prend pas seule des décisions. C'est de manière participative avec tous les membres que toutes les décisions se prennent. Pour ce qui est des difficultés, du moment où c'est elle qui est la première représentante du groupement, toutes les difficultés retombent d'abord sur elle. Mais elle ne refuse pas. Du moment où elle n'exclut personne, elle n'a pas une politique d'exclusion. Même quand il y a quelque chose, c'est la voix de la majorité qui l'emporte et finalement, la coopérative se porte bien.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much. We did hear you. Great. And does Madam Oku, do you have some plans or expectations for the future with your cooperative and your community?
Oh, no, Bo akado lini mede mi do tito mede mi do lini de boro si soda ero nu come ane mi na no boro nu come o mi kodo lini de o boro tabi tito mede de o flafwa mi do lini de ni do ni so ero di do tano na mo kan ti bena ni bo ti mi ton le na mo kon ni ta to ta ma no ta na ti ni je ni do na ni ta. Oui, elle dit que comme perspective pour le futur, il y a la durabilité du processus, la durabilité de leur coopérative. Donc, c'est comment intéresser les jeunes, la génération montante, à prendre la relève même quand ils vont complètement vieillir et même quand ils ne seront plus de ce monde, pour que les activités bio au sein de la communauté durent dans le temps et dans l'espace et prennent plus d'ampleur dans la commune, dans sa commune.
Yes, thank you. Well, we look forward to hearing more from you in the days and months and years ahead as your work continues. And thank you once again so much for sharing your experiences with us. All right, we have time. Now we will go to Patty for our last set of questions. Patty, as you said in your video, agroecology is also political. So can you tell us more about that and your activism and leadership as a woman and a family farmer in the United States and in global food sovereignty movements? What needs to change and what brings you hope?
Thank you, Marcia. What brings me hope are the social movements that are embracing agroecology. Agroecology goes beyond organic, regenerative, and sustainable because it includes a political education component built through these social movements. That political analysis allows us to understand the agriculture and food systems as they exist and how to challenge those systems. For example, the World Trade Organization and the free trade agreements take away each country's ability to achieve food sovereignty and to implement policies that support agroecology. Farmers now must compete on a global scale in a downward spiral to produce more and more, but receive less and less for their products. The beneficiaries of this system are the corporate users of our products and the seed, chemical, and technology companies. Through the US Food Sovereignty Alliance and the National Farm Coalition, I became involved in the United Nations Committee on World Food Security. In the process of developing guidelines for countries to promote agroecology, some influential countries, including the United States, and their agribusiness interests have demanded that the text read agroecology and other innovations. In this context, the other innovations refers to high tech, including biotechnologies and the data collection technologies. In contrast, the innovations of a farmer who follows the principles of agroecology can come from his or her own creativity and ingenuity, as well as ancestral knowledge and lived experiences, all combined to solve their problems. And these new ideas then are passed on to others through farmer-to-farmer models of learning. In the past few years, my husband and I have joined delegations to Cuba and to Nicaragua to learn from the farmers there. They form cooperatives, as we've heard already, where they work together to produce and market healthy food. Cooperatives by the women, especially those in Nicaragua, are inspiring and hopeful, showing a better way to grow food and to connect with community. But here in the United States, agroecology is not well known. It is often misunderstood, and it's being co-opted by agribusiness industry. I'm happy that we have changed our farm in the direction that we have towards agroecology, but we also must continue to educate our friends and our neighbors, in fact, all of society, to grow this movement so that one day soon, all of our agroecology, all of our agriculture can be agroecological. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Such a powerful vision. We are so fortunate here in the United States and in North America to have you representing the voice of family farmers here in these United Nations convenings at the UN Committee on Food Security. Patty represents the North America contingent of the civil society mechanism in this UN process. And it's so powerful to have the voices of farmers speaking directly in these, on the floor of the intergovernmental plenary meetings, explaining really, particularly when our US government representatives may be saying, we have to feed the world with GMOs, with genetically engineered crops and pesticides. Then you have someone like Patty, you have the experiences of others on our panel saying that, yeah, no, actually, we can do it another way. We can do it through agroecology. We can feed and nourish ourselves in a way that protects our planet and protects our communities. So thank you so much for all that you are doing in those spaces. I'm just looking now if there are any other questions. I will turn to my co-host, Chloe, to see if there are any other questions that we would like to pose to the panelists. We've not been able to cover every question. Thank you so much to our attendees for dropping your questions into the chat. Okay,
yeah, I think one question that any farmer that wants to answer it's more of a general, how do you see agroecology becoming a large scale way of feeding the world? And then also what kind of policy changes would that require?
I can add a little bit to that, though I think there's other people who know more about it than I do. When we talk about large scale, I think it's possible, but I don't think that should be the goal. I think there needs to be a transition so that the farmers that we have, the agriculture that we have today is going to have to transition in some way, and that needs to be smooth as possible, and policies that address the prices that farmers receive and the trade agreements are all going to have to be part of that.
Thank you so much, Patty. We are coming up on the hour. So just before I close us out, I'd like to just offer an opportunity if any of our dear panelists have one last something you would like to share with our audience today. Feel free to jump in, unmute yourself and share if there's something else you would like to say. And as well, I'll open up this moment. We have many co-organizers, partners behind the scenes from PAN Latin America, Rapal, Javier is there, Davo in Benin with OPEPAP, Jayan with PAN India, and our colleagues in Tanal. So was there a question or comment from any of our panelists or fellow organizers? If not, I will.
A mí me gustaría, digamos, ya que, bueno, todas las panelistas somos mujeres y me da que, digamos, no es un dato menor, poder enfocar de la importancia y el compromiso y la responsabilidad que tenemos como mujeres, porque si uno se va a la naturaleza, la especie, la hembra, es la que transmite y la que da el alimento, ¿no? Entonces, si lo llevamos a nosotras como mujeres, somos las encargadas de nutrir, y la importancia de esa nutrición y de la responsabilidad desde ese lugar, ¿no? Y todo lo que significa nutrición, porque tenemos que hablar de educación, de la educación en todo el extracto, no necesariamente, ¿no? Desde toda la familia, para tener también, digamos, otra sociedad diferente. La elección de lo que uno, del alimento que uno consume, también depende de nuestra elección. Nosotras también como mujeres tenemos este poder de compra, de elección de qué es lo que vamos a consumir. Me parece muy importante esta parte de la nutrición desde los valores, desde el ser y este compromiso que tenemos como mujeres, como para generar, digamos, o co-crear una realidad diferente, un mundo diferente para todas y todos, por supuesto, ¿no?
Thank you, Marcela. That is beautiful. It's the perfect conclusion to our time together. I will just be, I know we're at time, and so I will just be closing us out, but I noticed that I think Ms. Kali also had something to say. Is that correct?
Yes, Madam, may I?
Please.
Kali Mardhan have a message to the viewers. Solum.
ഈ 16 യൂറും കൂടി ഈ സർക്കാർ കൊടുത്തത് കൊണ്ട് നല്ല മുറയ്ക്ക് ചെയ്ത് പറയുകയാണ്. ഇനി 2 വിസ്ക എടുക്കാറ് ഈ 12 മാസത്തി 2 വിധ വെള്ളാമേ, 1 വിസ്ക ഉളുന്തു, 1 വിസ്ക കൊള്ളു. പിന്നെ ആദ്യം റായി സാമേ അത് ആദ്യം എടുക്കാറ്. ആദ്യം എടുത്തിട്ട് പിന്നെ പിറകെ ഉളുന്തു, കൊള്ളു, മക്കസോള ഇതെല്ലാം കടേശിക്ക് കൊടുക്കാറ്. ഈ 12 മാസത്തെയും കൂടി 2 തക്ക വെള്ളാമ എടുപ്പേം, 1 വിസയല്ല. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಮರಂದಿಲ್ಲೇ ಸುಮ್ಮ ಈ ಗೋಮೂತ್ರ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಆ ಗೋಮೂತ್ರತೆ ರಚಿಕುವೇಮು. ಇನ್ನಿ ಮರಂದೆಲ್ಲ ಅಡಿಕಾದಿಲ್ಲ. ಇನ್ನಿ ಎಲ್ಲವರು ನೆಲ್ಲಮಾಯಿ ಕೃಷಿಸೇದು ಹೋಯ್. ನೀವು ಏದು ನಾಳೆ ಪಾಕಿರಿಯೋ ಮಗರಾಜ ಕೃಷಿಸೇದು ಹೋಯ್.
Kali Mardhan saying that we are not only doing in this hamlet, we are doing in Attapadi in 16 hamlets with government support. And she is saying that she is very happy and she is also give a message to the younger generation and the viewers. You have to do your agriculture practice with traditionally, and don't use pesticides. You have to eat properly and good food, and you have to make good food. And thank you.
Thank you so much. Good words of wisdom and advice for all of us, Ms. Kali. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you. I just wanted to say thank you all for a very rich conversation. Your experiences as farmers growing food for your families and communities while practicing agroecology is incredible inspiration for all of us. So you have shown us today how agroecology offers many different unique pathways of liberation from the harms of hazardous pesticides, offers an alternative way forward for our children, our communities, and environments. You have shown us the power of women in the forefront of change, paving the way towards equitable, nourishing, and healthy food and farming systems for all. A deep thank you to Ms. Kali, Senora Marcela, Madam Oku, and my dear friend Patty for your time today. Many thanks to our interpreters and translators, Amelia and Fanny from Co-op Largo in Montreal, Canada, Pau and Patri from Colectivo Babia in New York and Puerto Rico, Delphine from OBEPAP, the Benin Organization for the Promotion of Organic Agriculture, Bharatan from Tanal Trust in Kerala, India, Rena from Pan UK, and Tucker from Pan North America. Thank you also to my wonderful co-host and co-producer, Chloe Cho, and to the members of the Pan International Agroecology Workgroup and additional Pan partners who together made this webinar possible: Pan India, Tanal Trust, OBEPAB, RAPAL, or Pan Latin America, Pan UK, Pan Ethiopia, and my colleagues here at Pan North America. Finally, a warm thank you to our co-sponsors, AFSA, the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa, the African Center for Biodiversity, the West Africa Organic Network, Mayela, or the Agroecology Movement of Latin America and the Caribbean, India's National Coalition for Natural Farming, the US National Family Farm Coalition, the US Food Sovereignty Alliance, Third World Network, Ceres Trust, 11th Hour Project, and the Agroecology Fund. You will be able to find more information at our websites, many of which are listed here. So please do take a look. We look forward to continuing this conversation in the days to come. And before we close, I would like to invite all of our panelists, interpreters, and co-organizers of this webinar to turn on your cameras, if you like, so that we can see you. Thank you so much for joining us today, and to all of you who have attended. It's been truly an honor to be in your presence and to be working alongside you in this movement. Just letting you know also that there will be another webinar by PAN next month in November that will be focusing on the issue of highly hazardous pesticides. So stay tuned for more information about that. Thank you again from my heart. A very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you.